Juno Reactor's Ben Watkins is a musician who works from visual imagery. He not only scores films like the last two Matrix pictures, he also watches movies while making his own music.
Whenever I write a tune, I always have a film in the studio playing for that track. And with that one, I was watching Aguirre, Wrath of God, all through Conquistador Part 1.
Watkins picks up on Aguirre director Werner Herzog's themes of imperial arrogance in the face of natural wonder on the opening piece of Juno Reactor's Labyrinth. On Conquistador 1, he employs words from the Latin Requiem Mass to make his point.
With the Requiem, there are these words where it says, "Death and nature shall be stunned when mankind arises." And it seemed to really sum up, there's what's going on in the world at the moment, sort of environmentally and also politically. It's sort of got this sort of Book of Revelation sort of echo to it, which is pretty grim. And so that sort of kicked off pretty much where I set the sort of outtone of the album with Conquistador, and sort of using, the idea of the sort of Spanish conquistadors taking over the sort of middle section of America,
Listen close, and you can hear the hum of Ben Watkins's computers as he speaks from his studio in the farming countryside near Brighton, England. He's a 21st century musician, which is one reason his music was used so much in the last two Matrix features.
We are here because of you, Mr. Anderson. We're here to take from you what you tried to take from us. Purpose.
Labyrinth takes its initial inspiration from those movies.
I've been sort of messing around with like the Requiem in the Matrix films, and I was sort of trying to marry up what I've been doing on the film stuff and this album, and I sort of felt like I had to acknowledge the Matrix films on this album.
He does that with pensive, liturgical rhapsodies, African percussion, and vicious electroshock grooves. Ben Watkins came of musical age in the early 1980s. After playing rock guitar, he got turned onto electronics by the avant-garde electro-punk bands DAF and Suicide. He recorded with punk progeny like Youth and put out records as The Empty Quarter, The Flowerpot Men, and Sun Sonic. By the early 1990s, he'd settled on Juno Reactor as his recording persona, working with a loose, shifting collective of musicians. The first album, Transmissions, is vintage techno.
I think Transmissions and Beyond the Infinite were both very much sort of trying to paint new landscapes, sort of space-type environments, acid-related, very much the sort of underground dance scene that sort of came out of India.
Despite the dance grooves and heavy metal textures often heard in Juno Reactor, there's a surprising spiritual element underlying his music. In addition to the Requiem Mass, religious imagery suffuses tracks like Angels and Men, which has the line, "Why are you so afraid of the face of God?"
Why are you so afraid of the face of God? It's a bit like death. It's as natural as breathing, just part of the cycle. A very good friend of mine died, and it was a song for him, really. And it's like the idea of Sharon, sort of the person who takes you from this world to the next. But I just sort of distorted it somewhat as like this being coming to collect someone.
Perhaps fittingly, the song intentionally uses the same guitar mode as a song by the Doors called The End.
Well, it's just a major seventh sort of and resolving it, you know, which is also the same thing the Doors used on the end. But I thought, you know, well, you know, it is a story about death and life, so why not use it?
I am here. Why you're so afraid of the face of God?
The final track on the album is Navras. It's one of 2 Juno Reactor songs from the Matrix films that appear on Labyrinth. For Ben Watkins, it's the summary message of the album. His labyrinth is not from the Greek myth of the Minotaur, but the walking meditation labyrinths, like those found at Grace Cathedral in San Francisco.
Everything in this album leads to Navras, which really Navras is a track about peace. So it's like, this is hopefully a sort of journey that we're living in now. Hopefully it will all lead to a better state, a sense of peace.
The latest album from Juno Reactor is Labyrinth on Metropolis Records. For Echoes, I'm Kimberly Haas.